fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver. The Lone Ranger.
Hello again. I'm not an outlaw. I come to you as a man on the side of justice. And I come today to discuss the Lone Ranger in art. And I'll be looking at a lot of the old comics, vintage comics. But first of all, I want to tell you about Fredrick Remington's book called Fredrick Remington's Own West. And in his book, he has an interview with an old Texas Ranger, and he had a picture which he drew himself. He did all the art in this book, which he drew himself of a Texas Ranger in his outfit. Wasn't a whole lot to it. He had a small sidearm, and then he had a Winchester. And when they joined up, when the Rangers joined up, they had to buy their own ammunition, had to have their own mount, and had to provide all their equipment. And they made $1.25 a day. This was in 1835 when it got started. But Fredrick Remington has quite a long interview in there with Colonel Rip Ford, who was an old-time Texas Ranger, and tells about their fights with some of the opposing American Indians, and also some of the rustlers and folks that come across the border. But today, I mainly wanted to show you some of these old comics and the good art that's in them. And I think there's really some excellent art involved in these comics. I'll start out here with number one in the Dale series, which ran for about 145 issues. And this is issue number one, and they ended the story on the back. And this is number two, and the same situation here. They put the conclusion of the story on the back of the comic, and Dale did that. And you know, Dale says, Dale comics are good comics. They made a pledge to parents that they would only show wholesome entertainment for young people. And here's number 6, which is one of my favorites. And I think Hollywood ought to make a movie out of this issue because it involves the arch enemy of the Lone Ranger called Skeleton. And he defeats the Lone Ranger in a fight one time and throws him in the river and thinks that he's killed him. Of course, Tonto rescues him and brings him back to life. And but the Lone Ranger goes after Skeleton and eventually captures him. But they close out the story on the back again of number 6. That's number 6. And here's number 7. Interesting. They don't close the story out on the back of this one on number 7, the Lone Ranger, but they had a good ad and a subscription. I was thankful that some young person hadn't filled out the subscription on the back there. And this is number 8. Now things changed a little bit on number 8. This is where we begin to see some of that beautiful art. And on the back, between issue 8 and 35, there were 27 issues that had portraits of Indian chiefs and important American Indian individuals portrayed on the back. And this is number 8. That's the first one. And this is number 10. It had also an Indian chief on the back. This is the front of it. But on the back it shows that good portrayal of an Indian chief there. And then this is number 12. Here's another Indian chief. I love this art, and a person could really, have some fun collecting this subset. 27 issues from issue number 8 to number 35 of these Indian chiefs. Some of them are really interesting characters you probably have heard of. One of them, for instance, was Geronimo, and this is issue number 18. But Geronimo, he had 9 wives, and his name means the one who yawns, which is interesting fact, maybe some of you folks had never realized, and I thought it was interesting that towards the end of his life, Geronimo became a Christian. He adopted the Christian faith before he passed away. He was thrown by a horse one night, and he had to lay out in the cold, and he caught pneumonia, and he died from that pneumonia. And he was heard to say his last words were, I should have fought and been the last man standing. And this was Geronimo. This is on the back of Lone Ranger number 18. These very, very colorful portraits. Here's another one here. This is a warrior. And this was number 14 and number 16. And this happens to be a double cover comic. Here's the front of it, but the back of it has a beautiful portrait on the back. And here's number 17. Very colorful with the yellow headdress and the feathers and everything, very nicely done. These artists, what I could find out, now I don't know exactly who did all the portraits, but the artists were Tom Gill and an artist named Paul Newman, not the actor, but Ernest Nordley was a prominent one that stood out among the artists on the Lone Ranger. But if you can find these subsets, this is Chief Joseph Napoleon. He's the one who said he was the leader of the Nez Perce Indians, American Indians, and he was heard to say, I will fight no more forever. And that was because he opposed the issue of the government seeking to move him and his tribe, remove them from their homeland. They tried to get away to Canada, but they stopped him about 40 miles from the border. But this was Chief Joseph Napoleon, very famous American Indian, well-known fighter also. This is number 20, also an Indian warrior. And here's the front cover. And here's number 22, warrior number 2. I thought that was, it's kind of dark looking portrait. Here's the front of the issue. And then number 23. And this is about a giant Blackfoot American Indian who he accidentally shot a steer. He thought the steer was his, and he's going to eat it. But the law chased him down, and some Mounties, Royal Mounties, surrounded him, and he killed one of the Mounties, but they finally killed him with cannon fire. This is in issue number 23. They also tell the origin of Lone Ranger in this issue of number 23. And this is issue number 24. Also shows a warrior, shows the Lone Ranger fighting pretty hard. Several people there on the front there. Well, I believe Tonto's in there too. You can see him in the background. And then number 26, another warrior. And this is the front of the issue, number 26. And here's number 24. And that's another, this is another chief. I don't think he's named there. There's the front of it. Very colorful. Enjoy that. Now, on this is the last issue, number 35, and it shows, well, it says Warrior number 6, I believe, number 6. And then this is the last issue that had his red shirt. In issue number 37, they show him wearing the blue shirt, but they didn't show any Indian chiefs. Hope I'm holding that up right. On the back, they showed some pronghorn sheep. No, foghorn deer, excuse me, on the back there. And this is the one where he begins to wear the blue outfit. And there are the sheep. Had the wrong issue there. Now, Dale did a great job, I think, with those 145 issues, but that subset of 27 painted back covers of the Indian chiefs, I think, is very interesting, very historical, in my opinion. And a lot of times on the Lone Ranger comics, on the inside cover and the back inside cover, they'd show history, or they would show or tell some interesting things about the cowboys and some of the equipment they used, and something about the horses. The Dynamite Company, I think it's based in Canada, did about 25 issues of the Lone Ranger. And I thought one of their issues, just solid black cover with a silver bullet at the bottom. I think this was issue number 25. It was the last one in the Dynamite series. And this was the first one. This was the number one in their series. And also Topps did a series of 4 comics. And in this series, they have a story where Tonto and the Lone Ranger break up, and they have a quarrel about something. But Topps took a little different slant on things about the relationship. And this is number 3 on the back, but all 4 issues are in this particular pack that I have. There are also about 33 issues of Silver, and the title of it was The Lone Ranger's Famous Horse, Silver. So there's a lot to collect there in some of these old comics, and we're trying to create a little interest in some of these, and maybe bring back some of these old values. In our next episode, we want to talk about The Mask Comes Off, and we'll tell you a little bit more about some of the ones who played the Lone Ranger. And when Tonto, in the fictionalized story of Lone Ranger, Tonto, when he found the Lone Ranger, he was the only one left alive, and so he said to the Lone Ranger, "You are the Lone Ranger." And the Lone Ranger said, "Yes, and from now on I will fight for truth, justice, and for God." And the good book tells us about that. It says those who follow the path of the just will be on a shining path of light that shines more and more until the perfect day. Give me a like if you will, and I hope you enjoyed our information today. God bless you.
Hi-yo, Silver! A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-yo, Silver, the Lone Ranger.